Pakistan doesn't have a lot left to sell. Its economy runs on IMF bailouts. Its exports aren't winning anyone over. But it has one asset that Gulf states keep lining up for: the Pakistani army. And Kuwait just became the latest buyer. A decree published in Kuwait's official gazette, Kuwait Al-Yam, has formally approved a defense cooperation agreement with Pakistan, originally signed in 2023 and only now ratified into law 3 years later. On paper, it's routine training, logistics, and intelligence sharing. But look at who else has signed these deals. There's Saudi, there's UAE, there's Bahrain, there's Qatar, and now even Kuwait. And a pattern starts to show up. Pakistan doesn't have oil, it doesn't have a stable economy, it doesn't have any hard-earned or manufacturing exports, high-tech exports that it can give out. What it has is a battle-hardened, exportable military. And Kuwait has just signed the newest joint agreement for that very same military with Islamabad. So what does this Kuwait deal actually commit both sides to? Why are wealthy Gulf monarchies increasingly looking towards Islamabad instead of relying as usual on the United States? And what does this growing Pakistan Gulf security axis mean for India's strategic interests? So the Pakistan-Kuwait deal was signed in 2023, but Kuwait's government just issued a decree law approving a defense cooperation agreement with Pakistan. The pact covers military training, education, logistical cooperation, exchange of military personnel, of course, and technical experts, and scientific and technological cooperation, military intelligence sharing. The list is exhaustive. But let's come to that 3-year gap between signing and ratification. Frankly, it isn't unusual for Gulf bureaucracies. These agreements typically move through cabinet approval, legal review, gazette publication before they are enforceable. But it does mean that this framework has been sitting dormant, on paper only, since before Pakistan's current army chief, Asim Munir, was even elevated to field marshal. Now, strip away the diplomatic language and the agreement covers 6 broad tracks: military training and education, likely officer exchanges and course placement, the kind of arrangement Pakistan already runs with Saudi and the UAE. Logistical cooperation, supply chains, based movement of equipment, etc., etc. Exchange of military personnel, technical experts and specialists. This is the manpower track and probably the one that matters most to Pakistan's calculus. And then there is scientific and technological cooperation, military intelligence sharing, and a catch-all clause, other areas that may be agreed upon by both sides, which really leaves room to expand the relationship without renegotiating the whole treaty. But 2 clauses in particular are worth flagging because they show how these Gulf-Pakistan deals are actually structured on the ground. First, let's look at classification. Any classified documents, information or material exchanged under the agreement cannot be passed on to a third party without written consent from whichever country originated it. And that confidential obligation does not expire when the agreement ends. It's permanent. Secondly, money. The agreement runs on a reciprocity principle, meaning the receiving country covers the cost of internal office travel, accommodation, emergency medical treatment for visiting delegations. So if a Pakistani delegation is in Kuwait for an official visit, Kuwait picks up those specific costs, and vice versa when a Kuwaiti official is in Pakistan. Now, Kuwait now joins a growing list of Gulf states with formal defense arrangements involving Pakistan alongside Saudi, UAE, Bahrain, Qatar, each running their own version of training exchanges, personnel deployments, or security cooperations with Islamabad. For Pakistan, this is a pattern, not an anomaly. With its economy under sustained pressure, military to military relationships have become one of the most reliable levers it has to build economic and diplomatic goodwill across the Gulf. What it gets Kuwait is less clear from the text alone. It's a small, wealthy state with its own security guarantees, and this reads more like institutional hedging and access to Pakistani training exercise than a really dependency relationship. In any case, so this 3-year-old agreement quietly ratified that formalizes what's already an informal Gulf pattern for Pakistan. The question is whether it stays at the level of training exchanges and paperwork, or whether it evolves into something with more strategic weight. The way Pakistan's relationship with Riyadh has developed over the decades. Either way, it's one more data point in how Islamabad is monetizing its military across the region. This Kuwait agreement arrives against a backdrop where Pakistan's Gulf military diplomacy has become even more consequential. The Mutual Defense Pact Pakistan signed with Saudi last year, following the Israeli strike on Doha, has already been described by regional analysts as a template that Pakistan could extend to UAE and Qatar next. So basically, what Pakistan with UAE and Qatar they will be doing is formalizing and expanding troop presence that's already informally in place. For India, this pattern deserves close attention for a specific reason. Every Gulf defense agreement Pakistan signs strengthens its diplomatic standing and often its financial position in a region that India depends heavily on for energy, trade, and of course its own diaspora. It also means that Pakistan's military establishment, which is already the most powerful institution inside the country, keeps accumulating external relationships and revenue streams entirely independent of Pakistan's civilian government or its struggling economy. That reinforces the very structure India has watched shape Pakistan's foreign policy for decades. An army that answers to itself and increasingly earns for itself via a network of Gulf capitals that need only what it can reliably offer. This is Times Access, where global stories meet India's perspective. Click on the bell icon to subscribe because the next big global shift will have India at its center.
If they had a nuclear weapon,
The old rules are breaking. Alliances are shifting.
Apologize again to the victims of the paedophile Jeffrey Epstein.
Wars are redrawing maps. Oil routes can shake economies overnight. One election in America can impact markets in Mumbai.
no tax on tips.
One move by China can alter the balance in Asia. One conflict in West Asia can hit every Indian household. This is no longer a distant story. This is our story. Your story. Because for the first time in decades, India is not watching from the sidelines. India is rising. India is negotiating. India is balancing rivals. India is building military strength. India is shaping trade routes. India is becoming central to the new global order. And yet, most global news is still told through someone else's lens. Washington's lens, Beijing's lens, London's lens. But where is India's lens? Where is the platform that explains the world from our perspective? Welcome to India's Axis, a new destination for geopolitics, strategy, and power seen through India's eyes. From Neighborhood Watch to the biggest global stories that matter to you. Why tensions in the Taiwan Strait matter to India. How one move by China can affect India's security. What turmoil in Pakistan means for regional stability. How Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, and Bhutan shape India's neighborhood. Why oil choke points can hit your wallet. How wars abroad can reshape India's security. This is not noise. This is not shouting. This is not recycled headlines. This is sharp, intelligent storytelling. Daily explainers, war room analysis, strategic conversations. Because news is everywhere, but perspective is rare, and in the age of confusion, clarity is power. Axis is for the audience that wants more than headlines. The axis of global power is shifting. India is at the center of that shift. It's time the world was explained accordingly. to understand the world through India's strategic lens.